So let's start with the next talk. We have GitHub administration with Terraform by Pooja. She works at InfraCloud.
Hello and good afternoon everyone. Welcome to my presentation. Thank you all for joining me here at DevOps Days. So let me start by saying some few words about my own background. So I am Pooja Dhoot, working at InfraCloud as a senior SRE. It's been 3 years I'm at InfraCloud. At InfraCloud, I mainly cater the needs of clients around KTS, Terraform, AWS and Azure Consulting. Apart from this, I am a proud mother of 2 kids. I love spending time with them. So if at all, after work and my parenting responsibilities, if I get time, I love to play cricket as well. So yeah, that was about me. So as you can see on the screen, my today's topic is GitHub administration using Terraform. This talk is relevant to people who use GitHub on their day-to-day basis, where GitHub is the only source of truth, and who are the fast-growing organization with GitHub. So my today's agenda will be, I'll be talking about SCM and its need and some tools around it. Then we'll move on to GitHub administration, how the task of GitHub administration is done. Then moving to the drawbacks of using GitHub in a legacy way, in a traditional way, I would say. Then I would focus on how the onboarding of users is done in GitHub. Then moving forward, I'll show some lights on how you can create a self-service infrastructure using Terraform. And then we'll go over my demo, discussing some benefits out of it. Yeah, so that was about the agenda. So when you join any organization, so the first tool that you have to know is like Git. So the very basic need of any organization. So I want to highlight few tools today like Git, GitHub and GitLab. So these are widely used terms in any industry. Firstly, focusing on SCM. So SCM is source code management tool which allow development teams to collaborate, manage and track the code within the database. So talking about Git first, so Git is a version control software where one can use to maintain the change history, and it is more used when more people work on it together. Moving to GitHub, so it's where you keep a copy of your code and people can access that code without coming to your computer. So I would give you an example of it. Consider Git as a single computer and GitHub is a network of interconnected computers. GitLab is same as GitHub but maintained by different group. So it is one DevOps platform along with CI/CD benefits. So in today's talk, I would focus more on GitHub. An early motto of GitHub was social coding. Nobody had thought, to my knowledge, that one would be able to marry the social coding with the concept of code, but they did it. So they also encouraged people to share their code and take a pride in it. GitHub is acquiring almost all of the world today. Around 90% of the organizations are using GitHub. So it has become a de facto of the industry. Moving forward, I would talk more about GitHub administration. So GitHub administration is a huge task in any organization. So in organization, first is creating organization under GitHub. So it is nothing but it is a shared space which helps people or developers to collaborate and across many projects at once. Owners and administrators can manage the access of it to all the teams. Talking about creating repositories. So repositories is nothing but where a project's file is stored with the version history. Talking about teams, it can be an individual team or a nested teams which has the access to repositories and with a group of people assigned to it. Membership is nothing but people are invited to GitHub using their GitHub handle and their email address. Moving to roles. So roles are nothing but they are the group of policies given to individuals and teams to access the data of an organization. Moreover, moving to policies. So policies is nothing but the branch policies which are assigned to any repositories. I'll move to webhooks next. Webhooks are nothing but the external integration of the services within the repositories. Now, you all can imagine how the life of a GitHub admin looks like. The center man is a GitHub admin. He gets so many requests in a day. Somebody's asking for user creation, somebody's asking for repository creation. Few wants their team to be created under GitHub. Somebody's asking for merge request, access needs, and all the permissions required for accessing other repositories and other projects. So the GitHub admin is always bombarded with so many requests. So I want to highlight today some drawbacks of using GitHub in a traditional way. So firstly, the repositories are created manually. Like, I would like to give you an example around it. In my previous organization, we were working on a project where there was a need to create a new repository. So in that organization, we had to create a request in a tool to create a new repository. That tooling team, it gets assigned to a tooling team or a platform team. So the SLA usually for creating a new repository was 1 to 2 days. While it was very urgent for our team, but it was not that urgent for the other platform and tooling team. Because the tooling team was always getting so many requests, so they cannot cater it every now and then. Moving to like giving access to users where manually, like one has to go over the GitHub, use the UI, and assign users to any repositories or any team. Generally, onboarding in a big organization is even time consuming. In a big organization, users join frequently, they are offboarded frequently. But this process takes time. They had to work in silos to get the required access. When we talk about the auditing, so even auditing was not proper. In a team, not any two people used to get same level of access. So even auditing becomes difficult when you're using this manual approach. Managing branch policies, like keeping this same policies for all the repositories, and that too managing it manually was a tedious, cumbersome task. So I would like you all to ask you that imagine your first day in any organization where you would keep waiting for access. You have a list of access required, but you have to keep waiting for it. So imagine the hours waste which is done in the first week of any user who is onboarded. So while we have seen all the challenges of the GitHub using in a traditional way, I would share with you that Terraform can come to a rescue. So you all must be wondering how Terraform can rescue this way. So yeah, Terraform can do it. So we generally take users' input of what user you have to onboard, or what teams you have to create, or what repositories you have to create. That format, we take it and we just convert that code to Terraform using some Terraform's inbuilt functionality. And then, like using the Terraform's basic Terraform initialization, plan and apply. So that would create your GitHub resources. Now you all must be wondering that one has to be Terraform expert, and we can't expect a GitHub admin to be a Terraform expert. But don't worry, we have an automation for it. We take the input in a proper, in a simple YAML format. Moving ahead, I'll show you how we onboard any user to an organization. So we take very minimum details of a user, like email address, the first name of the user, the last name and what role you have to assign to that user, and group which that person is part of, like what teams he wants to be get onboarded to, and the GitHub handle. So I'll quickly give you a demo around it. So I'm moving to my organization, which is created under GitHub. So as you can see, there is an organization named Pooja's DevOps World. So this is my organization, and the administration is the repository which I have created. So if you go in this folder, and you see there are multiple folders called as users, repositories, and groups. So if you go under users, so there are 2 users already part of this organization. So the same template which I showed you in my last slide, just add those details to it. So what I have to do is, all I have to do is go to this users folders, create a new file with the email address of the user. So I have already created a pull request for it. So I'm adding a new user, my friend Bhavin. So I'll quickly show you the file which I have created for it. So this is the file which is created. So once the pull request is created with that file, the GitHub Actions runs in the background. So I'll come over this GitHub Actions again, but quickly show you how the output is generated for this. So if you check the plan, so the plan says, so we are adding a new member. We are adding new member to this Pooja's DevOps World. Called as Bhavin 192. So this Bhavin, he's my friend, he's sitting right in front of me. So I'll quickly merge this pull request, and once I merge this pull request, the GitHub Actions will run in background. And what will happen is, like, an invitation will be sent to Bhavin's email address. And we can quickly check of how the user is added to this organization. We'll go to people. So right now, Bhavin is not the part of this organization. So GitHub Actions are running in the background. So Bhavin will get an invitation. So it takes few seconds to run. But yeah, I'll come to this again. Once he gets the invitation and he accepts it, he'll be part of this organization. So I'll move on next of how repositories are created. So similarly, I'll start with the teams first. So as we created users.yaml in a folder, we'll create a team.yaml file in the teams folder, and we'll add some basic details of what would be the team name and what repositories access is required for that team. I'll list down the repositories. I'll quickly go over the code to do it. Yeah, coming to the same folder and this teams folder, which is groups, and I'm using this inception.yaml. So as you can see, there's a team name called as Inception, and these many repositories, read, write, and admin access is required for this team. So yeah, again, I have already created a pull request for it. So as you can see, the similar kind of file is created for SCP team. I'll quickly go over and merge this pull request. I can check the plan as well. So actually, the earlier plan is still running. So the plan has not come up. So meanwhile, I can check how the like my friend Bhavin was onboarded to the team. Bhavin, did you get the invitation? Oh, okay. So he just went over to check his email, and once he accepts the email invitation, he'll soon be added to the team. I'll quickly go over the repositories and show you the GitHub action, how that is running. So if you go over this repository and you see Actions tab, so there is this action running. So this action will like apply the plan to create a new team. So this is still running. So I can come over to this again, but yeah. So as you can see, so right now it is creating this SCP team, and yeah, this is done. So I'll quickly go over the teams and we'll check how this looks like. So yeah, see, this SCP team is onboarded. So this team has 3 repositories access with like one as read, write, and admin level of access. So I'll move again to create a new repository. So similarly, like I did for user.yaml and team.yaml, there is something called as repository.yaml with the very minimum information, because repository creation is the easiest one. So yeah, you just need to provide name and description and what should be the default branch of it. So you can add the visibility as well, like whether you want to keep the repository as public or private, you can add that option as well. So yeah, again, moving forward, I want to show you how a repository is created. So I am adding this 9ops repository. So yeah, this 9ops repository has this 3 basic information. I'll just check the plan, what plan has been generated. Yeah. You can see this resource GitHub team is created. Like this was the change, but yeah, you can see this 9ops repository is being created. Yeah, this and it is being assigned to the owners group. I'll merge this pull request. Again, the same format, this actions, GitHub actions will run it, and this will create a new repository in my organization. So it takes few seconds to run. Bhavin, did you get the invitation? Yeah. So yeah, let's see over the user. You can see Bhavin is a part of this organization now. So similarly, the repository will be created. Okay, the actions are still running, but we can come toward this later. So going over this administration repository, so this is where the entire GitHub is, like this Terraform is working. This code actually converts this YAML input which has been taken by the user, and this code will convert it into the Terraform configuration, and that will do the magic for us. And CI/CD, this GitHub actions, they are triggering this pull request, like they are working behind this pull request trigger, and they are running Terraform for us. So moving forward, to summarize the entire process. So how a new user is onboarded to the organization, what we have to do is like just take the GitHub handle of the user, add that handle to the file, and just create a new pull request. So whoever is the hiring manager, so hiring manager himself can create a new request, or anybody in the team can create a new request. Hiring manager just verifies that request, and they merge this pull request, and your job is done. So the user is onboarded to the team. Isn't it the very easier way of onboarding a user to the organization instead of relying on UI, GitHub's UI. So yeah, I would like to discuss more about the Terraform provider of GitHub, Terraform's GitHub provider. So the Terraform's GitHub provider is quite stable now. So we can use that. It supports almost anything which we can do on GitHub. So it's a good choice to move over the infrastructure as a code around GitHub. The life of GitHub admin will be very smooth and stable. We don't have to depend on anybody else in the team to get the access. Even the team members can raise for it. So like we have the Terraform, GitHub provider in Terraform, this Terraform has the provision to support other providers as well. They are Opsgenie, NPM, Confluence and Docker Hub. So with the help of these providers, one can use the same level of same modules and generate the self-service infrastructure with it. So we don't have to wait for any other teams to create access for us. So like we discussed about the onboarding of a user, even offboarding is very simple. What you have to do is just delete the user's file from the GitHub and the GitHub action will take care of it. They will offboard the user from the organization. And once you offboard that file from the GitHub, so it will not only delete your GitHub's user, but they will take care of deleting Docker Hub's user, NPM, Confluence, and it supports many other tools as well. So in that way, the onboarding and offboarding process is codified, versioned, and automated. And the modules can obviously, they are reusable. So overall, the auditing becomes easier. We all know, like the user myself, I'm part of which repositories, which teams, so even auditing becomes easy with this process. The use case of managing GitHub resources with Terraform is fairly straightforward. It is version, codify, automate, reuse, and release. So you have an immediate insight of entire organization of what all memberships, repositories, and what all roles is assigned to anybody. So not only does this happen in the complete visibility, but it is also for like the consistency is also maintained. So instead of relying on a human click on a GitHub's UI, we can rely on machine to push out the access and policies. Whether you are managing a GitHub enterprise of 100 users or implementing a consistent labeling scheme across your personal project, Terraform is the right tool for it. That was the benefits of Terraform. I open up the forum for questions now.
So this seems good. And as we have a GitHub enterprises, along with that, we'll get the AD integrations, right? So
Sorry, come again?
AD integrations, LDAP or something integrations. So directly we'll get like users onboarded directly with that, and even the teams can be integrated directly. So what is extra benefit that we are getting out of this?
So all you can like check is the visibility and the consistency. You can use this process for auditing as well. You will get an entire view of your organization.
Still it has some manual steps, right? Raising the PR and running these GitHub actions, and then the Terraform modification and the PR rise and manager has to approval. So there are a lot of manual steps integrated.
But in this case, you don't have to rely on any other team. Like even your team's member can do it, and you don't have to wait for other teams like platform.
That's when the enterprises comes to the picture, right? GitHub enterprises directly have the integration with the AD. So as soon as any user, any employee joins, you will be assigned to some team. So along with that GitHub enterprises account, you will be getting whatever the team is assigned to. We will be getting the access towards that, or we can have a custom integrations. So
yeah.
That's
so you don't only think that this process is useful for GitHub administration. So it takes care of your other tools integration as well. Like as I said, like Docker Hub, Opsgenie, you can create accounts in that as well using the same process.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Suppose if the user has access to that GitHub, like he's the admin and he accidentally deleted a user, how that will be reconciled and then that user may be recreated. So
Sorry, accidentally what?
if that team or that group or something, like the user, let's say user got accidentally deleted, like maybe someone with administrative access, maybe purposefully, like deleted a user. So will there be some reconciliation happening and then creating the user or something of that sort?
Yeah, so I'll
So
take this
like
question.
it's like a one-time activity when you tell like you add that YAML file, like that user YAML file, and then user got created. And let's say it's not created or it's like deleted. So that YAML file, as long as it is there, is it like reconciled to ensure that user will be always there?
So two things to look at this way. One is like we are making the life easy of a GitHub admin. So why would GitHub admin will next do a manual step? So we make a process within the organization that nobody is going to use it manually now. Henceforth, all the process should go from PR review and approvals only. So nobody can directly go ahead and like use it the UI. So only one person in the organization will be the admin, but the rest all others will be managed through Terraform.
Small question, like what did you use to convert those YAML things into the Terraform directives? Is there, you mentioned something, but
You're asking about the conversion?
Yeah, what, like you'd have to convert those into some kind of TF files, right, before running them. What do you use to convert them?
So there is an inbuilt functionality of Terraform called as YAML decode.
Okay.
So using that, we store all the values of the YAML files and use it for our configuration.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
So do we need to write any Terraform scripts, or as you said, it will convert YAML to Terraform, it will automatically converts?
Yeah. So that conversion will be done automatically. So there is one basic code of Terraform which will take the input as YAML file and it will convert that to Terraform configuration automatically.
Yeah, in that YAML file, we are giving set of key pair values.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yep.
And that will be converted automatically Terraform, and it will apply so that you will get the created the teams or the users in the GitHub.
Yes.
So can we have it for Bitbucket also? Any idea?
Yeah, so there is a provider for Bitbucket as well.
Okay. Thank you.
I like how you've sort of, transformed the whole IAC into like repository as a RAAC. One question, is this being used in like production? Has there been any, like it's not a technical question, but in terms of like the adoption, has there been any friction? Let's say, you said probably hiring managers could add, let's say access and everything. Is this adopted in your organization? And if yes, how has the adoption been like? Did you face any friction in terms of bringing this out? And who takes care of like, managing all of this?
So at one of our clients' place, this process has been adopted. And in their case, like it is running very much smoothly. So the onboarding and offboarding at their place is quite frequent. So for them, it is a very useful thing to do it. And even like the team changes and all, they do it quite frequently. So it is very helpful for them.
So between in the diagram, you have shown that state file is saving in AWS cloud, right?
Yeah.
So the admin need to have that AWS knowledge, how the state file is being stored.
Okay.
If something goes wrong with the state file, who can fix that?
So, sorry, come again, if something goes?
No, with the Terraform, you are saving the state file in the AWS storage.
Yeah.
So what if the state file misses? We will miss the configuration of Terraform, right?
So, like in S3 bucket, the versioning is already applied. So, there is every time the copy of the S3, like the state file is already present at S3.
We are using this for enterprise version.
Yeah.
So again, we are saving the state file in cloud. Why can't you save somewhere in the local GitHub enterprise version server itself?
So like we have implemented in this way, like maybe your approach, we can try over it, but yeah, we have not
Why? Because again, we are mixing the cloud again with the local on-premise servers. So when we are avoiding the cloud, we can have the state file in the local itself somewhere securely.
Good point, but we have been making a practice like whatever Terraform we do, we generally store it on AWS. But yeah, you make a good point.
Yeah.
We'll think over it.
Okay, I think that's it for now. We are on time for tea break. So yeah, go ahead. We have one more talk at 4:20. I'll see you then.